Hello, everybody. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a great day. It's sunny here, but it's cold. What is it, 11 degrees Celsius. This past weekend I was out on my deck with my bathing suit on. Just 15 minutes on each side, just enough to feel some sunshine. But now we're back to some cold weather. I wanted to talk to you today about a cartoon that I found, and I'm going to start by showing you the cartoon. You tell me which one you are. So these are extroverted people and introverted people during this time of quarantine. Which one are you? I tend more to be on the introverted side, but there are some extroverts who are having a really rough time. So I thought I would talk to you about that today. So no matter where you fall, it is a spectrum. You can be leaning toward extroversion or leaning toward introversion. But what defines them? What kind of behavioral characteristics do they have? You may want to know this when we get to the point where we can open our doors and mingle, of course, with a degree of caution. But those extroverts, like that cartoon showed, are just bracing to get out of the gate. For those of you who just joined us, I will show you the cartoon again in just a minute because it's kind of cute. But anyway, let's take a look at what an introvert might be. And you can tell me where you are. Leave your comments below and we'll get to see how you define yourself. Largely, an introvert will prefer time to themselves, avoiding large and long social gatherings. That's me. Because they find social interactions to be really quite draining. They prefer to work alone. They probably have a very small circle of close friends. And within that circle, you may not guess that they're an introvert, but outside of that circle, kind of dashing for the door to get inside and get away from all of that. They tend to have a very active thought process and they like to be very well read and very well prepared. Thanks for those thumbs ups. Oh, Surapal, you're here. Okay, so I want to introduce everybody to Surapal. This is a friend of our program who comes from Thailand, and Surapal is learning English through watching our show. So we're very glad to have you here, Surapal. Thanks for joining in and for letting us know that you're here. Okay, back to our introvert. They they feel more deeply, and they are people who need to be a little bit more careful about depression than extroverts do. They tend not to have those high highs that extroverts have, that yay, let's go. They're not like that. They are toned down a little bit more. So many tend to think of introverts as people who are antisocial. It's not necessarily true. They can be highly social, but just not for as long because they have these batteries that tend to be very drained by a lot of hubbub and social activity around them, and they need to retreat and recharge those batteries. In this pandemic, when we are socially isolating, or for some, they are having to be um, by state law, they are having to be inside. Here in Canada, we are socially isolating. We can go out. There's no restriction on our movements by and large. We have to be cautious. Stores are governing how many people can go in the doors. We're supposed to stay 6 feet apart, but the state is not mandating this, and there are no police, and there's not an army that are watching us. So that's maybe the difference for some of our European viewers who have much more stringent controls. Um, I think that perhaps a lot of introverts have found this period a time of being grateful for not having to deal with all of these social interactions. Now we'll maybe get to what an extrovert is. I'll just show you that cartoon for those who have joined us late. There's the cartoon. See the extrovert just banging to get out of that window? Don't like this quarantine or isolation time. Whereas the introverted people, yeah, they're just happily going about their business. That's maybe a very visual idea of what the difference is between extroverts and introverts in this time of isolation and quarantine. So, an extrovert really enjoys social settings and thrives when they're surrounded by people and other people's energy. They just feed off of that energy, whereas an introvert will be drained by it. So, an extrovert does not enjoy a lot of time alone, loves to have lots of friends, loves to talk and work through social issues and news of the day with their friends. Talk, 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 talk. They are very, very adaptable people. Outgoing is the way that you would describe most extroverts. One of their more risky behaviors is that they tend to take a lot of chances because when they do something that's a bit risky, that dopamine in their brain is triggered, and that's like a reward for them. So they are feeling rewarded by having taken on a risky behavior and maybe having everybody watch them and maybe having people applaud them. That's what they feed on. I'm not saying whether that's good or bad. That's up to you to decide. So, Zoom calls, FaceTiming, and Skyping may well suit the needs of an introvert. I'm pretty sure, though, that the extroverts among us are getting pretty tired of that and they want a little bit more face to face engagement. So, while the extroverts are just ready to burst out of the gates and they've got this massive to do list, maybe a mile long, the introverts, on the other hand, are probably feeling a little bit anxious about what's going to happen when they go out the door. Not so much what will happen physically, but about the pressures that will be put on them socially to catch up, to engage. And that can be somewhat problematic. No matter where you fall on the spectrum, you need to figure out a plan that suits your needs and your behaviors. Extroverts, you cannot eat the whole pie at once, or you're going to feel unsatisfied. You need to take a more measured approach to all of this. This business of go here, go there, run, 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 you're going to feel very unhappy because when you're done running and you have to go back home, you won't have actually enjoyed any of the activities that you've undertaken, not the way you could and you should. Just suggesting that you might want to take a more measured approach. Introverts, on the other hand, will have a bit easier time of it because they already know what they can cope with. They probably already schedule themselves to some extent. As I said, though, the expectations of others may weigh on them heavily, particularly those that are people pleasers. So, introverts, you also have to make a bit of a schedule. And when your schedule is full based on what you can cope with, you just have to start saying no, do it another time. So, techniques like meditation, square breathing, and yoga may help calm down the mind of an extrovert who wants to get all revved up. They may also help kind of soothe the mind of an introvert who is feeling the weight of social expectations. For those of you who need to expend some energy and just take it down a notch, some cardio, walking or running on that treadmill, jumping rope in your yard or your basement might just help release some of that energy and help you cope a little bit better. So, where do you fall on the spectrum? Let's see what Surapal is asking how we've been. We have been fine. I'll tell you about me in just a second. I'm interested in knowing how you have been. Surapal, I would really like to know how you have been in Thailand as you have coped with all of this. So for me, I'm an introvert. I have a small circle of good friends and a pretty good handle on my batteries and when I need charging. Just as a for instance, even in terms of the Zoom calls that I just mentioned, for the last 2 days, I've been doing a certification course and I have been sitting right here in this chair from 7:30 in the morning until 5 at night. Because it's a Zoom call, it's been a participation thing with everybody. By 5 o'clock, I am exhausted. I'm not used to talking that much or interacting that much or paying that close attention to what other people say for such an extended period of time. So even being isolating in my home, but being on a Zoom call with all of that energy coming at me and expected of me, it's been tiring. I'm not going to lie about that. I'm the one who will probably try to figure out why I all of a sudden can't go to that party or that social gathering. Sorry. For my friends who are watching, sorry. I probably do try to figure out how to get out of it, but ultimately, because I don't want to let people down, I go. The honest truth is that as soon as I walk in a door, I'm trying to figure out how to get out of there. How much time is it going to take me to walk around the room, say hi to the people I need to say hi to, and then leave? That's just me. I can feel the energy draining from me as soon as I walk into a big room full of lots of people. So I may very well be the first to arrive, but I'm probably also the first to go. With my close friends, though, that is not an issue. It is just not. I can lounge over dinner or a backyard fire with close friends, and it won't bother me. Won't bother me in the slightest because it's a small group. We all know one another. They're not draining my energy. It's a very easy energy field. So that is just not the case. I do sit on boards and I participate in educational opportunities, just like the one I told you about yesterday. I doubt anybody would actually know or understand that I'm an introvert because when I'm very engaged in the issues and focused on what's going on, I participate as much as anybody. I don't let anybody away with saying something or putting forward a position that I want to challenge, and I don't and not challenge it. I do challenge it. I enjoy those kind of lively discussions. I enjoy the learning opportunities. But when I get home, I'm beat. That's it. I'm done. I have friends who are absolute screaming extroverts. They really are. And I actually just marvel at how they keep that energy up. I don't want to be them, but I really am amazed by how they do it all and stay so high in their energy level. I don't really know how they do it. But as we come out of our isolation bit by bit, don't be surprised if you see some people with wild eyes. Just go back to that cartoon for a minute because I kind of liked it. Don't be afraid if you see people come out of isolation with eyes like this person on the extroverted side of the equation. They've got a full agenda and there is no holding them back. There's no holding them back at all. They are going to go for it and that's fine. Your introverted friends, though, as I said earlier, will be feeling the weight of the expectations of people who haven't seen them for a long time. So, if you invite somebody for a coffee and they say no, just try again next week or in a few days. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Wherever you fall on the spectrum as we emerge from our coronavirus cocoons, be aware that you could find yourself feeling like a kid in a candy store, or that you're walking on spikes and there's no right or wrong answer. It's you. So do you. Also, though, be kind to your friends who may have another spectrum of feeling. So there we have it. That is our show for today. Not as long as last week. Last week, it was a very important issue, but it was a longer show. For now, though, I will invite you to leave your comments below. Let me know where you fall on the spectrum. Somebody told me last week that my orchid had a problem, that it was sick. It had about 7 blooms on it until recently. Then the last couple of weeks, it has maintained those 2 blooms. I expect they're going to fall off pretty soon. But if any of you are orchid whisperers and you think that that orchid doesn't look well, tell me because I do not have a green thumb. That was given to me and I love it and I do my best to baby it along. Anyway, there you go, everybody. I will see you next Wednesday at 12 noon and we will have another edition of the Oldish Live. Until then, be well, take care of yourself, and I will look forward to seeing you next week. Bye, everybody.